Well, good afternoon, everyone. Leland Live on your radio. Guest host April Marie Fogel here, filling in today and back again tomorrow. Who AJ and I came in hot right before. I'm not sure we got in the elevator before
Mm.
2 p.m. It's
Nah, it was right at 2.
it's a whole a
Yeah.
whole adventure with the two of us.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I've been doing this for a while, so
You know it,
I look
right?
at the time and say, okay, I got this amount of time to do what I need to do. And everybody's like scrambling, especially when we have guest hosts like, hey, what's going on?
I did that once or twice. I was
like,
like,
"Yeah, it's all
AJ's
good."
gonna give me a heart attack.
No, we good. Plus, I've been here since like 10 this morning, so
You had to get fit.
and I'm off tomorrow, so I had to like get a lot of stuff, some stuff done. And then I was like, all right, let me just step out, grab something to eat. I had to stop at one place before that, did that, got something to eat, came back. I was like, okay. So, and then it's just like yesterday, you were talking about knowing that you had to be somewhere, and then people just like, oh, let me just go and check out the sun. Oh, what is that?
I
Oh,
know.
ooh,
Like,
I wanna
have you
sightsee.
never driven before? I
Yeah.
had the same thing on my way in today.
Yeah.
And I was like, guy, the speed limit's 35. Why are we going 22?
Right.
Make it stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Well, we made it. We both made it. And if you are tuned in, I even had time. Part of the reason I was late is because I'm going to a reception after this. And so I was like, I better get ready now, then I don't have to go home and do it. So I actually curled my hair and things before I left the house today. So we are on the YouTube, realtalk995tv.com, if you want to look that up. I haven't been plugging Jawbone Jam, which is like, I don't know what's going on with me. But the 10-year anniversary is coming up. Brother Kane, Stone Horses, and Cadell? What is that? What is the third band?
Cattle.
Cattle. There's no D's. There's no T's in that. Cattle performing at Iron City
May 15th.
May 15th.
Yep.
So you can get your tickets at Ticketmaster or visit ironcitybham.com for that. I'm going to go to this one. I haven't been to a Jawbone Jam yet, but I'm not going to miss the 10-year anniversary. So let's check that out. A little later today, we're going to be joined by John Wall. He is the former chairman of the Alabama Republican Party and is running for lieutenant governor. But I've been, in doing stories and doing things, I have been talking to him off and on. There's been a lot going on with the party. And of course, he got Trump's endorsement. So just timed so that he is literally passing right on by here. And I was like, go ahead and stop. Let's talk a bit. So he'll be joining me this afternoon. I don't have an exact time for that yet. Depends on flights and different things, but we'll get him on here and have a chat with him. I'm excited about that. As you guys know, I write for 1819 News, so I have a handful of stories today that we'll be talking about. One of them is the governor, and I said it yesterday. I don't know what kind of deja vu weirdo moment I had, because yesterday I said the governor signed the App Store accountability bill into law. In deja vu, I don't know, a glitch in the matrix or what, but yesterday I was convinced I had seen this. Well, she did it this afternoon. So in spite of the fact I told y'all yesterday she did it and that I saw it, apparently I was having some kind of moment because she did that this afternoon. So we'll talk about that bill. A lot going on, obviously, in the national scene with Prince Andrew's arrest. Man, see, I've seen that everywhere. And here's the thing. I want to get into what that is about. What was he actually arrested for? Because it wasn't anything to do with the women. It was, and it's the same thing that we've seen here in the U.S. and we've seen weaponized with the Mar-a-Lago raids, is they got him for sending information, classified, their equivalent of classified information to Epstein. So in that $3 million page document dump were emails from Prince Andrew, now, or back then it was the Duke, and he was in Epstein's contact list as the Duke. But he was sending those documents along. So he is being charged with misconduct in public office which is an offense and abuse, which they say is abuse or neglect of power or resources by someone holding public office. And it is related to these documents that he had that he shared. And so there's been an ongoing investigation. We're going to talk about that. Also, images new now saying that there's additional photographs of him out there. But again, that's not what he's being charged with. Nothing related to Epstein's crimes or alleged crimes or any of that stuff. Instead, it has to deal with these documents. I almost wonder if they were like, this guy has been such an embarrassment to the royal family. This guy has gotten away with the exception of the civil penalties, but he's gotten away with a real spotlight shined on him, and this was an opportunity for them to go after him. And we've seen this in the US. We've seen where there has been selective prosecution of people for leaks in classified information. There's no bigger, more glaring difference than what happened with President Trump and the raid of Mar-a-Lago, and then Hillary Clinton, and in all that we know that she had with the server and her staff having access to emails and all sorts of security breaches there. So we'll get into that. The phone lines, of course, will be open today, 205 545 9950. There lots of stories that caught my interest today. I yesterday was talking about my very strong feelings on these schools and these principals who are allowing students to walk out in protest of ICE, which, by the way, absolutely, you cannot convince me this is not brainwashing, and not to shade all teachers, but by some teachers and by some parents. Well, today, sure enough, and it was inevitable. You have young students, a lot of these high school students, but not always high school students. A student was struck by a car during an anti-ICE walkout. And so there's video of this student. There's firemen, paramedics, a law enforcement officer here. The student was struck. I believe that they have to hold school administration accountable for this. There's no excuse. And then there's a second video, by the way, of a school principal walking up to students who had left campus. And you could see the students, they're really angry, but he essentially said to them, here's the deal. This protest, you were told it can't happen during school hours. You couldn't walk out. You have two options. Get back in the school through that door with that administrator, that teacher is holding right now, or you get suspended, or you face consequences. Now, the full video, I haven't found that one yet, just the administrator talking to the kids, and the kids are like, oh, what are we going to do? They're just skipping class. They're just skipping class. These aren't kids who have a deep-rooted, idea or issues with ICE or the immigration officials. No, these are kids looking to skip class, and they should absolutely face disciplinary consequences. Also, any parent who approves it, they need to be looked at. I say that not in the way that the lady said, oh, the Turning Point chapter parents need to be looked at. I mean, if you are saying that your kid can go out and disrupt traffic, if you know that your kid has been planning to go do something illegal, there should be consequences. So we'll talk about that a little later today. And then something I had on my agenda to talk about on Tuesday, and I didn't get into it, but as I was looking back at my notes, it was something I truly feel is worth talking about again, because you guys know how much I love the Second Amendment, is the case in Georgia, the trial in Georgia that is happening, where the father is on trial because his son took a gun and went and did a school shooting. And the issue here is, was the father responsible for the child getting the gun? And in ordinary circumstances, I'd want to look at and hear everything. The issue here is the father had already been told by law enforcement that his son had made threats against the school. The father already knew that the child had mental health problems and challenges. The father already should have known This kid should not be gifted a firearm, should not be allowed access to a firearm. As a matter of fact, if you're in those circumstances, the father has an obligation not to forfeit his Second Amendment rights, but more than anything, to make sure any gun that he owns, any firearm that he owns, is under his control. So I want to get into that trial, and I would love to take your calls on that. 205 545 9950 is the number again. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll jump right on into this conversation. I almost feel like we need some kind of closed captioning system for those watching on the YouTube so they know what we're jamming out to in here. Like just a little voiceover, AJ saying the name of the song and the band. That was a little dirt on my boots. Is that the name of the actual song?
Yep.
Look at that. But don't ask me who sang it.
John Party.
There you go. So, fun fact about me, if so, there's another radio station in that plays country music that I listen to. We listen pretty much every time when I go to drop the boys off at school. They don't want to listen to Dixon and Vining. Sorry, guys, they won't listen to me. To you, they every in the morning. It's the struggle. So we listen to the country channel when I go with them, and then I listen to Dixon and Binding when I'm by myself. And if I take my daughter and we go to Starbucks, we'll listen to the country channel. And they play this game like "How country are you?" And I promise you guys, I would get like a 8 or a 9 on the "How country are you?" scale, if not for the fact I can never remember a band's name. I can listen to a whole album 500 times. You could play a song and be like, "Who is this?" And I'm going to blank. I have no explanation for that, but true story. All right. So yeah, I would really good at name that tune if you're naming the song. Terrible at naming the artist. I started the show. Well, two things. One is with the Epstein files in the Prince Andrew arrest. An image now showing him being released from custody, and he's in a car, and he just has this absolutely, clearly media problem everywhere around the car. He's trying not to get in this shot. It's the quintessential, I've just been busted for something. Now I want to hide shot. I think this is we have turned a page in terms of what are we talking about when we talk about the consequences of these Epstein files being released. You heard it from me yesterday. I don't think I believe all evidence actually indicates that there's not a list somewhere. You're not going to be able to make a valid list that appropriately shows who has had contact with him and what it was about. Um, but I do think there will be, and this is probably, I say probably, one of, if not the most public fallouts of the Epstein files being released is evidence that Prince Andrew, when he was Duke, sending classified information that to Epstein. And it was related to economic development and business and industry and all of that stuff. A Just to understand the charges because they were not related to the women involved in the Epstein case. It was misconduct, and this is a quote. It was misconduct in public office is a common law offense that can be tried only under an indictment. It carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. The offense concerns serious and willful abuse or neglect of the power or responsibilities of the public's office held. There must be a direct link between the misconduct and an abuse of those powers and responsibilities. The Court of Appeal has made it clear that the offense should strictly be confined and it can raise complex and sometimes sensitive issues. So that's what the charges are that he's facing. It comes out of emails that he forwarded and sent from Epstein and it's under the name of the Duke. Here's who I actually, there's very much a sympathy for Epstein's victims. I think everyone, hands down, across the board, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of where you are in the world, anyone who was victimized by Epstein or his associates, which again, there's been no charges against any of those, but aside from Maxwell, um, there is. I think that what we're seeing a lot of people in the orbit of these individuals who are kind of having to deal with this. Prince King Charles, of course, Andrew's brother, put out a statement saying, "I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and the suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which the issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they will have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." So as this process, and then he says, as this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to all of you, to you all. So the king having to weigh in on this, other statements, Andrew's arrest, his daughters on Fox News saying his daughter as the files continue to strain. There is a position of power being held thing wrong. I 100%. I just want everyone to keep them mad. You're going to see every troll what this arrest is for. Or if someone is telling you this is that goes to their credibility. Confidential documents relate issues in the country and things of that nature. Nothing to do with issues in the country and things of that nature. Nothing to do with sexual abuse. All right, so that is some of the breaking news related to the Epstein files. I wanted to go into, and I talked about this earlier, the case out of Georgia, because I really, and you guys, this is going to make some people mad at me, so go ahead and get your dialing fingers ready. But I said it from the beginning that I believe that there was enough evidence, at least at the time of the shooting, for the father to be charged. So the details in this, and I am one of the most like just absolute rabid supporters of the Second Amendment. This is the trial for the father of the teenager accused in the 2024 shooting at um, at a high school in Georgia. The trial began on Monday, and the prosecutors are arguing that the father is culpable for giving his son despite having notice of the son's previous threats. The father is facing 29 counts. So, just like any other crime, if you're driving the getaway car, if you're involved in a crime and your buddy, the two of you go in together and your buddy is armed and he shoots somebody, you're responsible for this. The father is being charged with 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and multiple counts of second-degree cruelty to children. The district attorney opened the prosecution's case, and this is what he said. And this is important because you're going to hear people, which I've heard very little about this case, given what's important on it. That you're going to hear people say this is a case about the Second Amendment. It's not. This is a case about someone who should have taken action to protect others from his son and didn't. So this is what the district attorney said. This is not a case about holding parents accountable for what their children do. This is a case about this defendant and his actions in allowing a child that he has custody over access to a firearm and ammunition after being warned that that child is going to do harm to others. So he says it's not about if your kid goes out and does something without your knowledge. This is something the father should have known. He had been given multiple warnings by multiple sources that his son had said alarming statements related to gun violence. And yet he gave his son access to what he, by the way, gifted. He gifted his son a rifle and an elongated magazine, an extended clip, basically. And it said Colt's maternal grandmother had expressed concern over his obsession with Nicholas Cruz, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooter. Authorities also were able to track posts that this kid made on in reference to the Sandy Hook Sandy Hook Elementary shooter Adam Lanza. This to me is a big freaking deal because this is the South. Everybody and their brother has firearms in their house. This is a warning to parents that with that right comes great responsibility. We'll talk about this more on the flip side. You guys hold tight. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. whiskey women. I won't sing to you. I got AJ smiling over there. It's because he thinks I'm crazy.
Well, because I'm looking at the video and
Again,
I know they can't hear
they
your
have
voice. I mean, they can't hear the song, but they can see you mouth the songs.
Right.
And
It's like a bad lip sync.
Yeah.
In a bad dance contest. So I ran down and got my food. As I said, we were by the skin of my teeth because I was busy. I was busy with my day job writing for 1819 News, and I'm working on a story, you guys. And I can. Here's the thing. Here you can tell this about me. I'm sure I take things personally, and so when someone's telling me something is a certain way, and I have eyes, ears, and a brain, and know it's not that way, I get pretty peeved. Don't lie to me. Don't do it. Don't tell me something as if I can't go read a bill. Don't tell me something as if I can't go research. So I'm working on a story, and for hours today, I was just like immersed in this situation, and didn't eat. That's where we are. I didn't eat. So I had a salad brought to me. So now I've got a salad to eat over here. In the long breaks, of course, I just got through a long break, so I won't eat the salad for like 30 minutes, but we'll figure it out. So got salad and then got a large. Do you see this? Because that I'm not playing. This is it's the Trenta. I got a Trenta. Oh, it's not in the monitor. Okay, I don't know if I can show. Ginormous.
But the problem is, it looks like majority of that is just none but ice. It's like a bag of chips.
Yeah, I didn't. The person who was kind enough to bring it to me, which is the woman watching my daughter. I didn't think to tell her light ice. I always say light ice because otherwise you end up with this. But at any rate, so we got tea, we got a salad, we got the news up. We are ready to rock and roll. I was talking about the case in Georgia, and I even put it in on X to see how many people are talking about this. And of course, there's huge headlines this week. There's the Epstein files. There's what's going on, in Iran. There are all sorts of things happening. So this isn't necessarily national headlines, but this is a big one. So prosecutors are pursuing their charges. And here's what's interesting is it's different than other cases where this has happened because Georgia's statutes, they have a different charge that they can do, including reckless disregard and child cruelty, which is some of the charges that he's being accused of. Are you ready for the possible prison sentence? It's 180 years in prison at stake. And to me, the sticking point on this, the sticking point on this is that as the prosecutors has said, oh, I just had a ladybug. We were just talking about that yesterday. But the sticking point on this is, should the father have known and should he have taken action to make sure his son did not have access to a firearm, therefore could not have carried out this crime? I want to go a step further, and I feel like if you have a child who's obsessed with school shooters, then they should probably have some serious psychiatric evaluations and treatment. Like that's a no-brainer. Let alone taking the firearms away. Big first step. Taking it away, locking them up. I'm not saying the father can't exercise his Second Amendment rights, but I'm saying you've got a juvenile in the house who is a threat to others. You absolutely 100% have an obligation to keep other people safe from that individual. I believe that with all my heart. I'm watching this case because I think that leftists will be like, aha, you have a responsibility. And I'm going, yeah, you do. You do. If there were no warning signs, and that has happened, where they're not often, by the way, most of these school shooters have shown warning signs. There were notices. There were things that not things that didn't even get missed, things people found or saw, and all of the warning signs were there. But this is a case of there are great responsibilities that come with exercising your Second Amendment right, and I'm for one, very interested in this. So 205-545-9950. I don't have access to the text line, so if you're texting me about this, I cannot hear what you're saying. I will pull up the YouTube because I was texting back to listeners on that yesterday. All right, so we've got that going on. I am absolutely fascinated by the DNA, what they're doing with the DNA in the Guthrie case. Okay. And I feel like this is happening now. We now have law enforcement officers saying that we had this DNA, we ran it through our databases, it didn't come back with any hits, and now we're taking it a step further, and we're running it against other DNA like applications and processes and programs. Here's the thing is you can opt into and out of this on various applications. And I don't know if y'all realize, and I don't know how many of y'all, but I know a number of people. AJ, have you done at one of the DNA kits, the 23andMe or the Ancestry or anything like that where you have uploaded you've tried to find out anything?
No, I just go off what my other family members do, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know we had family members like that. But no, I'm not putting my DNA information to some random person that I don't even know.
It was it was pretty scary when 23andMe went bankrupt and then someone else bought all of your DNA.
Right.
And I have so many friends who are like, suckers.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it.
Yeah.
I did mine because I am trying to track down my biological grandfather. And so I tested my because my dad didn't know he passed, but my dad didn't know his biological father. And so I've been trying to use these same resources, these same applications, all the things. So I do it. Mine's on a couple of these sites, and it's a whole thing. So the killer or kidnapper is not related to me because I feel like somebody would have come knocking on my door right now.
And that's the thing. It's like if if you're running from somebody or something,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then you put your DNA information, it gets into this database, and so if like prime example as you're talking about with the Guthrie case, if your DNA just so happens to match.
Oh yeah, because they can do cousins. So here's the thing: is my brother's got a little bit of a record, little bit of a record. My brother, I couldn't pay him to put his DNA in, but he doesn't have to because mine's in there. So if law enforcement were to find his DNA anywhere and mine's already in there, they're going to find him. This is one of the first times. Now, we've seen in the past them use DNA to find like cold case serial killers or cold case rapists or cold case information. As a matter of fact, the case that got me all sorts of ticked off and actually I might even talk about that because that goes back to that activist judges thing that is not okay. But there was a cold case out of, and I believe it was Hoover, the city of Hoover. It might have been county, but where a elderly woman was attacked in her home and violently raped. And the guy, they didn't find the guy. And just before the investigator retired, she revisited that cold case, and it turned out that they did, in fact, at that point, that now have his DNA on file, and they were able to solve that crime. And then a Jefferson County judge gave him an absolute slap on the wrist, for which I truly forever feel. If you did not, she basically gave him a suspended sentence, and this guy's going to serve very little jail time. And he basically took this old lady's life. He took this elderly woman's life. He took her security. He took her sense of peace. He took her ability, all of these things away from her, and then went off and lived his merry little life. At the time, he had been doing a string of home burglaries, and he was convicted and given a slap in the wrist. But that was a DNA case. We've heard some cases. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where the law enforcement is like, okay, we've got DNA from the scene, we've got DNA from these gloves, and we're actively out there trying to find this connection. Uh, as these emails to TMZ and these ransom notes and those sorts of things continue to roll in, I feel like the DNA is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. They're going to find them through this DNA because there's so many people around the country that are using these types of things. And if not for genealogy, if not for finding, family, because you can do it, like I said, through Ancestry, or you can do it through 23andMe. A lot of people have done it for health reasons. What genetic conditions are passed on? Do I have, the breast cancer gene? Do I have all of these things? And once that data is there, once it's linked up, there's no disappearing it. There was a whole thing. Oh, 23andMe is going to be bought and sold. Well, half of that data had already been leaked. If you have Jewish ancestry, there was already a leak of the 23andMe data, which, by the way, should frighten everyone. They specifically put on the dark web anybody of Jewish ancestry. And so I really think this is going to be the key to this case. And here's what they're not saying. They know if it's a male or female. They know what certain traits about this individual based on the DNA. I can literally look at my DNA through some of these analysis, and it'll tell you what my muscle type is, what my hair color is, what my eye color is, whether I'm going to be, shorter than or average height, above average height. Like they can tell all of this from your genes. They have a description of the suspect or suspects. They just haven't released it. Because if you've got DNA data, you've got all of that. And there's a number of things that you don't even think about, your muscle composition, all of these things, that do you have dimples or not dimples? This is in your genetics. They've got a pretty good idea of who did this based on those genetic tests, and I feel pretty confident they're gonna get to that. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back, I'm gonna continue to hit on the national headlines, and then we've got another 3 hours to delve into them in more depth. Want to get into the peace summit meetings that Trump had as well, and some of JD Vance's comments there. You guys hold tight. It's April Marie filling in for Leland. Well, good afternoon. April Marie here. 18 people watching on the YouTube. Yes, you see me dancing. I can't help it. Okay, one of these days I'll get used to that. I was talking about the headlines that from earlier today. Some of the top stories. That's the word I was looking for. Top stories. Lord have mercy. Uh, um, here's what I like about Trump, and I've said this before. I liked so much about Trump it would take more than 4 hours to tell you. But one of the things I like about Trump is how absolutely accessible he has made himself. Coming off of a Biden presidency where Biden was hiding in basements, going off scripted remarks, literally, he had every minute like scheduled in this precision, and he couldn't even follow the instructions. How many times did we see Biden not be able to figure out how to get on or off stage, when to sit, when to stand, what to say? It was a disaster. Now, Trump, on the other hand, in front of cameras half the time he's awake, which is fantastic. And also he's bringing a levity. And I don't mean that in the the unserious Truth Social post where he's railing on people, but there's an absolute levity to this administration that I love. The headlining story on Fox News right now is Trump hails Vance and Rubio as extraordinary duo, hammer and velvet glove, praising them and saying that Rubio did so well in his speech that he contemplated firing him. Can I tell you, I love these two. I love JD Vance and Marco Rubio. I love that they have been able to, there was this big question of what happens when Trump is done, right? What happens to MAGA? What happens to the Republican Party? And I'm looking at Rubio, at JD Vance, at DeSantis, and I really feel like this movement, this America First movement, this I'm going to tell it how it is, all of these things is going to be is a sign that we're going to continue on, that we're not going to get through this presidency. Trump's going to be a lame duck, and then everything's going to get undone by the next Democrat president. For a while, I was worried about our bench. And even going into this last presidency, I was worried about our bench. I would look and I'd go, okay, who do we have? Democrats, they ain't got squat. It's so entertaining watching the air quotes next generation of big Democrat leaders. We've got Newsom in California. We've got our new guy in New York. Did you see when the snow melted? Piles and piles of human feces all over the streets of New York. You've got California and their disastrous situation, everything about them, from literally public safety to homelessness, waste, crime, abuse, you name it. New York going. I hate it for them. But this is what they voted for. It's imploding right before our very eyes. Public safety going to just absolute garbage. And speaking of garbage piling up as tall as I am on the streets. So they've got those two. They've got AOC. They might drag out Kamala again, but she can't even sell out an auditorium in Montgomery, Alabama. They don't have a deep bench. But look at ours. Look at the stars that are starting to shine, and I say starting to, that are shining out of the Trump administration, from this administration. I think it's huge. And there are people that we don't talk about in the headlines as much. Zinke, there's Interior, there's of course Robert Kennedy, who does get a lot of attention. I don't know that he's that he can carry off a primary situation, but we've got a pretty deep bench. President Trump was lauding both Vance and Rubio, saying that they complement each other, and they really do. I think there is somewhat of a competitive nature because they do know after Trump, the who's going to carry the baton for the party is going to be up for grabs. But without doubt, if you had said to me, before the second administration, how do you see things lining up? I would say I thought DeSantis was going to be, really be the next rock star. But Marco Rubio, and I have known Rubio. I have had drinks with Rubio more times than I can count. I've hung out with him. We hang out in the same circles. I very, very good friends with a very, very good friend of his. Not close to Marco. It's not somebody I've ever texted, but it's definitely someone I've hung out with before in group settings. I would not have seen it, and now that I'm watching it, I can tell you absolutely should have seen it because what he has evolved into in terms of he's always been on message. He's always been able to articulate, what's going on. When he was Speaker of the Florida House, he was really great in front of cameras. But watching him kind of learn from Trump, and I feel like that's what they've done, like both JD Vance and Rubio have taken the best parts of Trump, his ability to call a spade, to call a liberal hack journalist a liberal hack journalist, to be able to stand on the world stage and say, we're going to put our country first. And not just that, we're going to put the values of our countries and other countries who share those values first. We're going to do, we are no nonsense. I think this is a big deal. I without a doubt, believe that Marco Rubio is going to go down in history as the best Secretary of State we've ever had. So today, Trump's newly formed Board of Peace met. It was an international forum aimed at funding Gaza's reconstruction. You can look at it. The meeting comes just a week after Rubio flew to Germany and delivered a speech. That was incredible. It was incredible because it talked about, and he talked about it, railed against unchecked mass immigration and how it's destabilizing Western civilization. There are people that will say, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about the cultural impacts of mass migration, especially mass illegal migration, like we've seen in our country, like Biden promoted and encouraged. But we have to talk about it. And we needed to be talking about it, not just us, but on a national stage, on a world stage, because turning a blind eye to other countries who have allowed their cultures to be so hugely overrun by people who hate them, we can watch the consequences happening. And Marco Rubio going on a world stage and talking about that, talking about shared values, talking about shared goals, putting people on notice. I love that. I love everything about it. One of the things that Marco Rubio has done, and absolutely unapologetically, is say, you can't be in our country on a visa or trying to get a full citizenship if you hate us, if you want to destroy us, if you want to get rid of everything we know and love, our rights, our freedoms, all of those things. We need that. We need more of it. Watching Trump and this team in action, joy to my heart. Brings joy to my heart. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue on national headlines and things going on around the state. Phone lines are open. Back in a second.